If you're ready for a new RPG where every time you roll to succeed on doing something, I don't know, hitting an enemy or jumping over a cliff, you need to roll a shit ton of d6s. And every d6 that lands on a 4 or a 5 counts as 1 point. Every d6 that lands on a 6 counts as 2 points. Then one of those d6s out of that ginormous pile is a special color d6, which is your personal own very special d6. If that d6 lands on a 1, something bad happens. If that d6 lands on a 6, something good happens. Then, to make matters less complicating, whenever you roll too many 6s, you can take those 6s and put those 6s in other things to have other stuff happen. And I played Wrath and Glory. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Trosk, and today I want to talk about my experiences with Wrath and Glory, the Warhammer, the official Warhammer 40k RPG system, so to speak. Now, don't take the intersection of this video too seriously, because I actually start to get take a really big liking to this RPG. I really like its system, but what I was explaining at the intersection of this video was actually my first impressions, like the first 1 or 2 sessions. Wrath and Glory is one of those RPGs, for me personally, that you need to play for a few sessions in order to appreciate it. And I'm not actually talking about the setting. The game Wrath and Glory is built for Warhammer 40k. And if you know Warhammer 40k, it's freaking awesome. It's an entire galaxy with like races and wars. It's an eternal war kind of stuff with really weird races and really weird technologies and really weird like how people treat each other and that kind of stuff. And we actually had a TPK when we in our main game, our main Tales of the Valiant game, which is an RPG for Kobold Press. And that is why we one of my players was like, I want to run a one shot for Wrath and Glory for you guys. See if you guys like it. And I was like, you know what? I've been GMing for you guys for so long. I would love to sit at the other side of the table and just be a player. I would absolutely love that. I don't even care if we play like Pink Ponytail the RPG or whatever. Just give me an RPG. And we played a one shot of Warhammer 40k, and it was awesome. Like the Warhammer 40k bit of it that Kevin, thank you so much for making me experience that, was incredible. But then something really cool happened. Kevin hit me right in the feels, because at the end of the session he was like, that was a one shot. If you guys like the system, I personally think, and this is Kevin talking, that this system would be perfect to play an alternate World War II RPG in. And I immediately said yes. Not a lot of people know this from my channel or whatever, but I love alternate history World War II. I'm a World War II guy. I mean, I wish it never happened, of course, but like I take an interest in it, and I know a lot about it, right? But alternate World War II is something that I really love. Like I'm talking Wolfenstein is a series of games that I really appreciate, but for me, like Rattler 2, that's where alternate World War II is. Rattler 2, Rattler 3. I really loved Rattler 3, and I also happened to be, like when I was younger, I was like super good in Command and Conquer games. I don't know why, but I was like super good in them. I'm not good at video games, but I was really good at Command and Conquer. Anyway, I liked alternate history World War II, but that was also the only information we were getting, and we jumped into it. And we now are, I think, 5 sessions in, and it is really cool. And Wrath and Glory as a system really suits World War II, alternate history World War II, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, quick disclaimer, before I give you my opinions on this RPG. First of all, I'm only like 5 or 6 sessions in, including the Warhammer 40k one-shot, which was awesome. So we're like, say, I think we're 5 sessions into the World War II bit, so I'm not an expert on the system at all. I'm not ready to do my how to play Wrath and Glory in 5 minutes video, because I'm just not ready for it, because first of all, Wrath and Glory, there's a lot to it, and it is pretty damn new for me, and that's my second disclaimer. I am super mainstream in the not so mainstream hobby that is Dungeons and Dragons and RPGs in general. I'm super mainstream in a sense that I've only exclusively played I've almost only exclusively played D20 systems. Now, some systems, these 20 systems that I played, were taking it a little bit away from like the generic D20 system, taking a lot of freedoms with that, but it was still in essence the D20 system. The furthest away from D20 that I've ever played is the one Bramble Track with the cards that you put down, and that tells your story and all that stuff, which I actually played. But other than that, I have little to no experience with like more special RPGs, so I'm super mainstream. So for all of you hardcore RPG people who keep trying new RPGs with new systems, this might come off as me just being super oblivious to a lot of things, but for me, Wrath and Glory, it had a real impact on me, like in a sense that, like, wait, I need to roll 12 or 13 or 14 d6s in order to see if I hit him? That's basically what you're doing. And then let me just get into how it works really quickly for you. And this is the character sheet of Wrath and Glory. Now, this is one that is filled in for Warhammer 40k by somebody. I found it on the internet. It just has some random numbers in here. And it's just for me to show you what it is all about. And as you can see, it's completely different from Tales of the Valley and Dungeons and Dragons, whatever other character sheet we know and we love. But there's also some stuff that we recognize. Now, the reason I want to quickly show this is because this already gives you an idea of like basically how it works, but also get ready to be like completely confused, because that's what I was in the beginning. So right here we have our attributes, right? We have our S's, I think, for strength, toughness, agility, if I'm correct. Then there is the I. I don't know if that's what's I. Again, like, I'm no expert, I forgot what I was, and then there's willpower, intelligence, or intellect, or whatever, and all of these have a number, right? You get a number when you create your character, then you can give some a bonus, and then you have your total. All of those totals go into the numbers right here. This is your skills section, and your skills section is basically kind of the same, it works kind of the same as in a D20 RPG, like Dungeons and Dragons right here. We have athletics, awareness, but there's also like specific skills in here that work better for Wrath and Glory, but also make this game really good for World War II. Now, we have athletics, we have awareness, we have survival, we have stealth, that kind of stuff, but we also have stuff like weapon skill, we have ballistic skill, which is which you roll 2 hits in order to see if you hit somebody with a ranged weapon. We have a weapon skill, it's for melee weapons right here. Medicae, how do you pronounce it, is for healing people, but there's also persuasion, and then there's pilot, and pilot is literally to drive and or fly vehicles. So if you steal a tank from the enemy, your pilot skill basically says like how good are you at that. Now, for some vehicles, if I am correct, I might be wrong about this, but I think that for some vehicles you need a minimum pilot skill to even be able, because it doesn't make sense that even if you have like 12 pilot skill, it doesn't make sense that if you've never flown a freaking B-17 Fortress, you can fly it, right? You still need to know how to fly a freaking airplane, even if you have 12, right? So all of that makes sense, hopefully. Then you can give that a rating. And a rating is just like extra points you put in that when you level up, that kind of stuff. I'm just going over this in a vague manner, not in a super specific manner. And that is your total. Now, the total... sorry. The total is the amount of D6s you roll in order to see if you succeed in something. As you can see, this character has a tag skill of his tag is 6, plus he gave it 6 rating, which is 12, and then he has a +4. He probably has another special skill or whatever in order to be better at tech. So for he's might be like, I don't know, mechanic or whatever. My character, by the way, has the same, also has 12 total. So if you do a tech check, I don't know, you're in a World War II setting and you run up to an old Jeep, an old Willys Jeep, and the Germans are after you, or the Russians, or whoever, or they want to shoot you, right? And you find a Willys Jeep, and the Willys Jeep is missing, I don't know, the spark plugs are cables are loose, what, right? You need somebody who has an understanding of cars in order to see actually what's wrong and plug those spark plugs in. And then, is a Willys Jeep even a diesel? Is that even like petrol? I don't know. Anyway, spark plugs. So you roll the tech skill, and you roll, in this case, 12 plus 4d6. So you literally, to see if you succeed, you roll 16d6. And the Game Master decides, like, you need a 6 in order to succeed. You roll of these 16d6s. Every d6 that lands on a 1, a 2, or a 3 go to the side. They don't matter, right? Every d6 that lands on a 4, on a 5, counts as 1 point. Yeah. Every d6 that lands on a 6 counts as 2 points. One of those 16d6s, not an extra one, but one of those is your special die. It's your personal special die. That's what I call it. And you roll that. If that lands on a 6, it counts as a 6, but it's also something good happens, and the GM generally has a list, random stuff that can happen, right? If it lands on a 1, something bad happens, basically. It's not, when it lands on a 1, it's not a critical failure or anything. It can be, if the DM then chooses with their table, that it can be like something really, really bad, if they like roll a d100 table and something bad happens. Or on a 6, doesn't mean you crit in terms of damage. Now, sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. That is how the base of this system works. Now, what is weird about this is, at first I was like super overwhelmed by it. No, I'm gonna go into that later. I'm just gonna go over this character sheet quickly and then talk about what I like and what I disliked from this system until now, right? So I am, by the way, in an active game still of this, so there's more videos of Wrath and Glory coming. If you think you want to see more videos of me going over Wrath and Glory, hit the thumbs up, put that in the comments. More Wrath and Glory, please, or just put for Wrath and Glory in the comment section. Now, this is also something that's way too far-fetched for me personally. Your defense score is what people need to roll, what the enemy needs to roll in order to hit you, right? So try to follow me here. I'm just gonna move this to the side a little bit so you can see this better. No, let me just put this like this really quickly so you can see this better. So just try to follow me. So your defense is how hard you are to hit, basically your armor class. The GM rolls, and if it succeeds this number, they hit you, which in this case is 0, which is really weird, but it could also be like 5, which is like just pretty damn high, right? Then you have something called resilience, or resilience, whatever, right? This is basically your damage reduction, and it comes from your base, which is your toughness. In this case, is it toughness or is it willpower? I don't know. It's one of these stats. It's your base, and then your armor also gives a number, and then it's your damage reduction. So let's say somebody hits you for 11 points. You would only take 1 point of damage, right? Now, if you take that point of damage, you take that to your wounds. Try to keep up because it's going to get more complicated. You take that to your wounds, and if you have 9 wounds, in this case, you have 9 wounds, you die, right? You fall to the floor and need to start recovering or whatever, or you die, basically. Which is not entirely the case. The death mechanic in Wrath and Glory is actually pretty damn fun. But yeah, you're unconscious or whatever. But you can also choose instead of taking the damage that you took after your damage reduction, instead of taking that to your wounds, you can take that to your shock, which is like an extra little buffer zone, but you need to succeed on rolls in order to be able to put points of damage in there. So the max shock here is 6. once you have 6 shock, you aren't able to take certain actions and do certain things, but you haven't taken the damage to your wounds, and wounds are really dangerous to take. There is a determination score, in this case 7. So every time when this character takes damage, let's say they take 6 damage, right? After the damage reduction, you roll, and you're like, I want to put some of those points into my shock. I want to roll for that, right? You roll 76s, and you treat every 4, 5, and 6 as a success, 1 point. 6s aren't 2 points in this case, if I'm not mistaken. And you, like, let's say you roll these 76s and you get 3 points, 3 successes. You basically can put 3 damage of the damage you were taking into your shock instead of your wounds. So you were taking 6 damage, but you roll for determination. You roll 3 points of determination. So you only take 4 damage to your wounds and 3 to your shock. Does that make... I don't know. It doesn't even make sense when I'm saying it, but that's literally how it works. Yeah. That's Wrath and Glory. There's a lot more. Like, there's skills that make you do certain things better and give you extras, like right here, right? There's extra here, and there's extra here, and there's extra here and there, and that can give you, like, for example, there's like a quick shot ability that my character has, which is an ability for you to draw your weapon before the other one acts, so you can act before initiative count, that kind of stuff. So all of that is there. It's all there, but this is like the main mechanical way of playing Wrath and Glory, just to give you a vague idea of the system. Like, really vague, because I have a vague idea of the system. Now, my opinion on Wrath and Glory. Now, I'm not yet ready to give you my full review on this game, and I also want to make more videos on it the more I experience it. And if you want to see me do more videos on actually what happens in the game, please make sure to put it in the comments below, because I really want to talk about that. Basically, it is 2 weeks before it's June 6, 1944, so 2 weeks before D-Day, Operation Overlord, and we are in an airplane, and we fly over Normandy, and we need to go destroy a communication bunker. We get shut down. We're the only survivors, so we get going trying to destroy that communications bunker, and then one of us dies, and we find another person that clearly also survived. There's landmines, and we're doing all kinds of shenanigans, and like it's like this combination between a Guy Ritchie movie like the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and like stuff from Quentin Tarantino and everything in between, and Red Alert. It is really like fun. It is ridiculous World War II stuff, and it is incredible fun. We're dragging our boots through the mud, and we're talking to French people who are capturing us and then releasing us, and we're stealing vans, and then in the back of the van sit like these big barrels of gas that they use in the concentration camps. So if somebody shoots us, we blow up. It's super ridiculous. It's absolute crazy fun, and Kevin is doing an incredible job of it. Wrath and Glory as a system, the first 2 sessions, I wasn't really sure about it, but something that I really noticed, and Kevin told me this in like the first 2 sessions, you have like a shit ton of D6s, right? When you throw them, like 6d6. The game as a system plays into averages much better than a D20 system. If the more dice you need to roll in order to see if something succeeds, the more you're going to constantly, on average, succeed more in stuff that you're good at and succeed less in stuff that you're not good at. That's just the math behind this. I'm not going to try to explain the math behind it, but that is the math behind Wrath and Glory. It needs to be that complicated in order to really play into those averages. Now, for something like Dungeons and Dragons, where you are this super heroic dude or whatever, you need those moments of rolling a critical and doing this incredibly insane moves and cast these incredible spells, but you also need those failure moments. You need that. But in something like a World War II setting, alternate World War II, because in the communications bunkers there happened to be like all kinds of crazy stuff going on. We met like mutants and that kind of stuff. I want to go deeper into it if you're interested, but you can see that like we are all good at something. Like my character is carrying this big ass telephone thing around, like this transmitter to talk to like the people at home. The other one is a sniper. There's one person who's literally, he's sneaky as fuck, but also always carries a mortar around, which is like super fun, and he has an M1 Garand. The other person is like a little bit psychic, because it is alternate history World War II. He's like psychic. And then there is one guy who calls himself like the chief of the group, the Sarge. We call him Sarge, and he's, I don't know what he's like really good at, but he's just like really good at a lot of things. But he's like Sarge, basically. But we are more constantly good at particular things, which makes it a much more narrative-focused game. And that is something that I really like about it, because there are moments that you really roll really, really shitty, and those moments need to happen in an RPG to keep it fresh, to keep it fun, to keep it everything. And there's also moments that you roll ridiculously well on a roll. You also need that in an RPG, but it kind of happens less. And in an RPG like this, in this setting, it really makes sense. It really makes sense that somebody who's trained to be a sniper is just a consistent sniper. He does miss a shot every now and then. If somebody's behind cover, it is harder for him to roll. He just needs to like detract a d6 from his roll, or the difficulty goes up. That's how simple it is. But he is a consistently good sniper. The person who has the mortar is trained in ballistic skill for mortars and has like this extra skill for like mortar, and he's like trained in explosive shots and landmines and what else. He's consistently good in landing mortar shots. And he's consistently less good in doing other stuff, right? So if you're bad at something, you only get to roll 1 or 2 d6s. So it is really hard for you to roll a 2 with 2 d6s, because you need 2 6s in order to get those 2 points. Sorry, I mean to roll a 4 with 2 d6s. It is possible, but it only happens in super rare occasions, which also makes sure that the characters who are trained in particular things are the ones who are going to try that particular thing. My character speaks 4 languages, for Dutch, because I made a Belgian character, because I'm Belgian myself. So he speaks Dutch, he speaks French, because he's Belgian, and in Belgium they also speak French, English, and what else? Is it? No, it's just French, Dutch, and English, which is really handy in Western Europe in World War II, right? So he speaks languages, so he's the guy talking to people, right? And there's another guy who speaks German. He's the guy talking to donning a German armor and then acting as if he's a German, right? There's a sniper, there's that kind of stuff. And that is why I'm taking a liking towards Wrath and Glory for now. Now, there's other reasons why I like it, because of its focus on narrative storytelling, and players are included into the narrative storytelling. Because what I mean by that is there's this system where you have like these little, we'll use like this little toy crystals in order to represent it. You have a bunch of points. There's more of these little systems in there, and I want to talk about that in different videos. But one of the systems is that you can take one of those crystals and you get like, I think at the start of the game, every session you get like 2 or whatever, and it is a session based thing, which is really weird. If you have a long session, you get fewer. If you have shorter sessions, you get more, but it doesn't matter. It's a session based thing, and you can basically trade in one of these crystals in order to get a narrative advantage. You can come up with a narrative advantage on something. For example, you can suggest that there is a lantern on the top of the ceiling, and if you shoot it down, you will kill 3 Germans. That's basically what you can do if you trade that in. Now, it is at the GM's discretion to do what they want with it, or to accept it or not accept it, but you can trade that in for a narrative thing for you to happen, which is a really cool little system for you as a player to be like involved in the storytelling aspect of the game. And that's it for this video. It's already passing 20 minutes and I've just scratched the surface of what we've been doing in the game and what I like about the game and how the game works, because there's of course much more to it. The rules book are like incredibly big and expensive and everything you need from an RPG. And yeah, I want to talk more about it in follow-up videos. If you want to see me talk more about Wrath and Glory, even if we're playing it in a World War II setting and not the Warhammer 40k part of it, make sure to put that in the comments below, hit the thumbs up, and until next video, bye bye.